Turn an express elevator to hell. Going down. Welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I will be your host for this morning or this evening or 10:15 at night, just whenever you happen to be listening, because after all, it's your podcast. Joining me today is Mr. Gerald King. Mr. Gerald King is from Spontaneously Combustible Games. And Mr. Gerald King is here, or Mr. King as I call him, is here to talk about Flip and Find's Diner, which is his up-and-coming Kickstarter project. So, hello, Gerald.
Hey, what's happening, Richard? That was my radio voice. How do you like that?
And join us after the news, where we'll be meeting a man who's been collecting sardines for 47 years.
He likes to open them every morning so that the house smells just like sardines.
He's like, if you're going to get that fresh fish smell... No, let's not do it.
You're going to get it from sardines.
Do you have sardines?
Fishy here.
Do you have sardines in the diner game?
No, we don't have sardines in the diner game, but I actually love sardines.
Oh, there you go. That's my job as a host, is to find out what you like and then talk about it. That's how.
That's great. You're doing a fantastic
job.
We're
meant to be doing here.
Between talking about my game and talking about sardines, I don't even know where else we could take this.
I just think we should stop now. I think we've peaked.
That's cool.
3 minutes in.
Yeah, we have. Oh boy, that was fast.
I know.
This never happens to me.
Oh my goodness. It's okay. Just give it a couple of minutes. We could start again.
Just give me a sandwich.
Just give me a sandwich. The reason that we do this, oh my goodness, it's going to be one of those episodes. The reason that we do this is because we fundamentally believe, in our heart of hearts, there's simply not enough podcasts out there about sardines. And the other reason that we do this is because me and Gerald have been talking for a long time. It's been a long time. And then we've been talking about him coming on just to talk about Spontaneously Combustible Games in general, and then the opportunity
Team Up.
And then the opportunity came up for him to talk about Flip and Find's Diner. So it seemed like an appropriate time to kind of get him on, have a chat, find out a little bit more about good self, and find out a little bit more about this game that he has coming on. So, thank you for coming on, Gerald. First of all,
thank you for having me, Richard. It is it has definitely been a long time coming. We've been working on having this chat now for. I feel like it's been. It hasn't been 6 months, has it?
No, I can't even.
No.
No, let's not go there, because then we both feel a bit guilty about that.
Yeah. No. I don't actually. I do my best to not believe in time.
It's just a social construct used to control us.
Exactly. And I refuse to wear those chains around my neck from day to day. As many people who know me will attest, I have issues with time. So technically, while we may have been planning this chat for months now, we're right on time.
It's technically we're as they say, a wizard is never late.
but hey, we're not wizards.
We're not wizards, so we can be as late as we want.
We're not.
Yeah. So, what we're going to do today is obviously we're going to find out a little bit about yourself. So we want to look into the restaurant order of the past before we look into the specials of the present before we jet off into the desert of the future. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your history in relation to the hobby? How did you get into the world of pressed and printed trees?
Wow, that I feel like I had an answer for this, but then as you said pressed and printed trees, it reminded me of something from my childhood that honestly makes me realize where all of this really may have come from, and I'm glad that we get to get into this right now. But my dad used to collect. We used to collect walking sticks. Like, we'd go for hikes and we'd get walking sticks out of the woods, and we'd take them home and we would sand them down, or we would polish them, or do all kinds of stuff and make them fancy.
Yeah.
And we would give those out for Christmas gifts. One of the things that we used to do with the sticks that weren't worthy of gifting, we would cut them into individual discs with the table saw. So we'd have all these little round wooden discs. Wow. And I would paint different pictures on the discs. And at some point, we started making little games out of these wooden discs, me and my older sister. And that might be the first experience for me in tabletop game design. But from there, I actually wanted to make video games. So I spent a lot of my middle school and high school years working with whoever would work with me locally and try to make video games. And
let's dial it back. I want to know about these flicking discs games, because I'm a big fan of the Catacomb series of games from Elra, and they are basically flicking wooden discs about. So did you make... Was it dexterity games that you made? Was it just kind of roll and move type games? What kind of games are you making?
It's funny because at the time I honestly couldn't have conceived of a roll and move game.
Yeah.
So we were making I wouldn't call them dexterity. The one game that I can distinctly remember was closer to like a Jenga-esque stacking game. But it was just the discs, but you were trying to stack multiples to where they were like hanging off and balancing out like a tree.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that is and I don't even know if we could have called that a game. I guess that was an activity that we did with discs, because I can't remember any rules. And that's, as you can ask Michael, my boss. I like to call Michael my boss for Spontaneously Combustible Games. Because Michael is the person who Michael McFarlane is the person who constantly is there to remind me that I'm supposed to be getting something done.
Oh, right. Well,
and I require that.
Just a little nudge.
Yeah, I'm not ashamed. No, you know, I like help. Help is great. It's like a nice soft hand on your shoulder reminding you that you should turn off Netflix.
I don't know about you, but, if I look on a million CVs, if I see another person claiming that they're really highly motivated and a self-starter, I don't know what I'm going to do. Seriously, because everybody seems to be really, I'm highly motivated. It's like, well, do you know what? Sometimes I get up and I just can't be bothered. I need something. I need that little nudge. I need somebody to
I got hired.
I
got hired for a social media marketing job just recently at Fantasy Grounds, an online RPG platform. And those guys are absolutely great. I love them. But I told him in the interview that I need a boss. I need somebody to remind me to do things and let me know that I'm doing a good job, because it helps. I got a lot of stuff going on. So when you say, hey, you did a great job on that, I'm like, oh, man, I should do more of that.
Yeah. It's not you like...
So how am I doing, Richard?
You're doing, you're average. Yeah.
That's good. I didn't want to outshine anybody here.
No,
I'm not trying to win any kind of competitions.
We'll have a 37-minute review. Gerald. You'll be fine. I've got potentially some pointers that I've maybe noticed just now, but it's okay. It's nothing that we can't kind of get over. It's fine. So did you get the video game bug from playing Sega and Nintendo when you were a younger boy?
I feel like I wanted to make video games because we were really too poor for me to own video games.
All right, okay.
So it was like the most amazing thing that I wanted to be a part of. So when I first got my first hand-me-down Nintendo, and that was probably towards the middle of Sega's reign, and I was completely blown away. And then when I finally got a computer, well, I guess actually I never got a computer as a child. When I finally had access to a computer that played Quake,
wow,
I was enthralled. There was nothing more amazing to me than running through those corridors in Quake and then looking up at that pixelated sky. You know what I mean? Through the wreckage, and firing my green laser gun or whatever it was called back then into the sky a couple times and watching that little green orb like float off into space. Like, oh, that was just amazing for me.
But you didn't need the graphics at the time because you had the speed. That Quake engine, just that ripped round.
Oh yeah.
You were like, you were twitchy on the trigger finger when you were going up against kind of anyone at all. Nintendo,
Oh, yeah.
Was it original Nintendo or was it the Super Nintendo?
My first Nintendo was the original Nintendo with Duck Hunt, and
Oh,
I had
wow.
Duck Hunt,
Yeah.
Mario, and Wrath of the Black Manta. And those were my games.
Did you play them to death, basically?
Oh my God. No one to this day has heard of Wrath of the Black Manta, but I could describe that to you like my own childhood.
Did it actually exist? This is,
Yeah.
there's this whole thing, well, isn't that whole thing about the film Shazam with Sinbad or something like that in it?
Mm-hmm.
And people could like totally claim that this film kind of that existed kind of didn't exist.
And it's so weird because it's really hard for me to even like blur the distinction on that, because remember, Sinbad was ubiquitous for some time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You couldn't get away from Sinbad.
No, he was everywhere.
So it's very, very reasonable. When you look at that Shazam, you're like, oh yeah, that happened. No, it didn't.
Collective. It's kind of like collective fake memories.
Yeah.
Because they did this though. They years ago they did a psychological experiment where they took kids and they put them in pictures. They put their photographs into pictures of a hot air balloon, and they shown them the photograph, and they went, "Do you remember this?" And some of them went, "No, I don't remember it at all." But others were able to concoct entire stories about what kind of happened on that day, which is, I always kind of thought was kind of fascinating. So you concentrated on high school, looking at getting into kind of video game development. Were you playing the D&D stuff at that time? Were you doing anything kind of tabletop related at that time at all?
No, but I think during that time I was so involved in the game design process. And at that time, I didn't realize that the way I went about designing video games is identical to the way that I go about designing board games. I've always been designing physical games.
Mm-hmm.
I was just giving all my notes over to programmers because I was never a programmer. I'm horrible at math. Everything that has to do with numbers just confounds me, including time.
Because it is actually 3 o'clock in the morning, and we're supposed to be doing this 5 hours ago. But I'm only kidding.
And there would have been no point in you telling me. We're gonna get it done when we get it done.
Exactly. There's never a better time like the present. So yeah, I mean, you said you were your game design roots went hand in hand with kind of like what you were doing. So did you then? did you go to college? Did you get yourself a job? I mean, what kind of happened after that then?
Well, I think what really happened was my good buddy Marcus Katzbach, Mo Fwacky, he heard about this, or he was a part of this online community based around this web comic called Penny Arcade.
Oh,
if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah, heard of
it. And so they had this huge party, okay, in like, I want to say 2003, and they called it a convention or something, but it was just a party. So then in 2004, when they decided they were going to have this party again, my buddy Mark was like, look, dude, we're going. Like, we have to go. It's going to be amazing. And I'm like, at that time, and as always, I'm down for whatever. It don't matter. Let's do it. So I'm like, let's go. Where's it at? He's like, it's in Seattle. We live in Cleveland. So I think it's roughly like 2,400 miles away. And
what number bus goes there? Is that not the 73 goes to?
Yeah, no. You just hop the 71 all the way to the 90 west.
Oh, right. I thought it was the 73, but I take it that bus go to Texas instead. I just get confused with these 2,400 miles. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, which is fine, because now we drive to Texas every year too for PAX South. But it all started driving to Seattle. But of course, we have to overplan everything. We have to make everything as awesome as it could possibly be at every possible moment. That was our goal back then. So we decide, if we're going to drive across country, we should and mind you, this was the beginning train of thought. This isn't where we ended up, but we decided we should buy a U-Haul and trick the U-Haul out with couches and stuff in the back, and set it up to where we can play video games and bring a bunch of extra people, and we can pick people up on the way, and we'll do this amazing road trip, and it's just going to be the most epic road trip that leads to the most epic party ever. And we started figuring out how to do that, and we spent 2 or 3 months trying to formulate this plan and how we were going to go across the country like this. Of course, none of that happened.
Did you not get Kevin Hart turning up? Because normally nowadays, if you do any type of road trip, he kind of rocks up at some point.
Oh, well, see, that's the problem. If we had conceived that in an era with YouTube and Instagram and everything that we have these days, oh man, it would have been beautiful. And speaking of which, it still may be beautiful. I don't let dreams like that die.
No.
But in that day and age, back then, this was 15 years ago, we were just doing this all in our own little world. And we ended up, I want to say that first year, we ended up flying out there. Or did we drive? I can't remember, but one of the successive years, and once again, we're talking about time here. It means nothing.
Yeah.
But one of those following years, maybe the third year, we finally got what we called the cross-country super trip together.
Oh.
And the cross-country super trip was a traveling idiot road show of us and a bunch of different people who wanted to go to PAX. And we had, I wish I could remember all their names. I feel like I do them a disservice by forgetting their names.
That's okay. We can put them in the show notes.
No, I'm not going to go digging for their names. They're just lost to time.
They're just lost. What's it, Rutger Hauer? All these things.
Well, I have stories. I have stories for every one of them, but their names are all gone. But there was these guys from Jersey. They drove from Jersey, met up with us in Elyria, Ohio, and then we drove from Elyria to Michigan and to all these other points across the map, the northern part of the map, to Seattle to pick up different cars. I feel like that first year we had 8 cars. I feel like the best year there was 11 cars total that went across country. One year we had what we called the super van, or was it the super van? I want to say it was a super van, but it was a van we rented. And it had TVs. We had Mario Kart inside the van while we were driving across country. And we also had an RV. These guys brought an RV so that we were the lead vehicle in the van. They were the tail vehicle in the RV. And people would take turns going from the RV to the van to play games or to hang out in the RV so they could rotate out of the cars. That year was epic.
It's like Cannonball Run.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a big race thing. Or a convoy.
Oh.
Or
that's what it was. It was a convoy. We actually did time-lapse footage of from the inside of the vehicle and from looking out the back of the vehicle, showing all the cars behind us a couple years, and it was just a fantastic time. But that introduced me to PAX, and it gave me the confidence to be a part of the community, because as coming into that community that first year in 2004, and I mean, let's be honest here, I'm black. And because I'm black, in 2004, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me at events like this. You know what I mean? And so it was definitely a shock to my system, you know, just to have to like understand, because we were a lot younger, so we turned it into a game. We would go around and actually try to find and like count how many other black guys there were, or you know what I mean, just people who weren't white, you know. And I remember one year we got up to like 11, you know, out of like how many thousands of people there.
Yeah.
And so doing the cross country super trip, and I mean, I'm not shy. I'm never shy. And mind you, most of these realizations, they're all in retrospect of like the understanding of how it was actually affecting my behavior and how it guided my journey through the culture. But when we started doing the cross country super trip, we would get there and there would be people waiting for us and clapping and like, you know what I mean? We'd pull up in front of the convention center and there'd be 100 people out there to greet us. So I was a part of this big spectacle, this like wonderful thing. And that, you know what I mean? It was just the coolest thing. And then it evolved into us throwing a rival party on Saturday night, which then became the party called C-Lab.
All right.
And C-Lab was a series of epic parties that we threw in hotels. And we ended up getting like a lot of the bands and musical acts and just notable people who were at PAX. They would end up coming to these parties because, I mean, we knew how to throw a party. Yeah. Me and Marcus, you know, it was something we were good at. So we would have these really cool parties and we'd have 2 or 3 hotel rooms and bathtubs full of booze. And, you know, it was the coolest party at PAX for sure at the time, back before there was all these like huge sponsored parties.
Sure, like the rock and roll version of kind of like tabletop then.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we were definitely we definitely tried to make it way more fun than it was supposed to be, and we usually all embarrassed ourselves.
What's it like?
Just
it's like,
very
do you mind you're getting your meeples in my cocaine?
I don't think there was ever any cocaine at the party, but the amount of booze that was there would have it was definitely more than enough.
So was there kind of like the bleary-eyed kind of days after where you kind of go around the show going, I can't even remember how I got back to my bed. It's like,
you know what? We were always so, because at the end of the day, I was always excited for PAX.
Yeah.
So I don't ever remember not being excited and alert. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure I had to have felt like crap some days. But back then, and even now, you know, because I go above and beyond to make sure I attend as many PAX events as I can, especially now that I'm an enforcer and I work for them. Mm-hmm. So it's awesome. But back then, like, it was, oh my God, it was like the most amazing thing I did every year. So there was nothing that could stop the fun. It was nonstop. It was when we got home. You know what I mean? When we got home, that's when it kicked us. And even the drive back. The drive back was always the worst. 2 days of driving after a 6-day party. You know? Like,
it's not just that though, but when you're driving home, you seem to be constantly driving uphill. And where you were going like say 70 on the way there, you're only able to reach 45 for some reason because everything seems to be an awful lot slower. And you're just like, whoa, when can we get home? And it seems like 4 hours get added on to the journey time no matter what happens. It's just
even more when you're stretching it out over 2 days. And on top of that, you're driving with people like at some point we had become like professional drivers, me and Marcus, you know. We knew how to drive. And then my wife, Sarah, she is like the driving master. She'll drive 10 hours straight and get mad at people when they want to stop and use the bathroom. She's like a professional truck driver who's never driven a truck. So on the way back, everybody's like, there's all this tension because like, I don't even want to wait for you right now. And some people are ahead of other people. So the drive back was always brutal.
Did you split it up? Did you split it up between, did you just do some of the driving? Was it a case of, I'll do half an hour, then you can do 5 hours?
Oh no, we had a pretty strict regiment on how we drove. There had to be a minimum of 3 drivers per vehicle. And we always switched. Everybody had to switch drivers at the same time so that we were all fresh and so that everyone, regardless of how you felt, got a chance to rest. Because while some people can drive for 10 hours straight, usually when they drive for 10 hours straight, they crash for a lot longer than everybody else after that. Yeah. So it throws everything off. So we had a manual that we gave to every car that detailed how you were how the trip would go. When it came to how everybody took turns driving, how everyone had to make sure they slept, and what you should eat, what you should not drink or eat while driving, because it was going to increase the likelihood that you had to go to the bathroom. Me and Marcus did a lot of research and made sure, and Marcus especially, I was really just entertainment.
Did you do studies into it? Did you have people doing mock driving stuff? Did you have clipboards? Did you have lab coats where you were measuring people and let's say, let's try them on the Doritos?
No, but we did track everyone's mileage, gas usage, wow, and any kind of lights that came on. Yeah. Like we wanted to know if you got an alert on your vehicle or anything like that. We tracked all of that so that we knew that at this mile you had that alert, and we've known for this many miles. We enjoy looking at data and just, figuring out how that translates because it's fun. I think that's fun. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not fun.
That'd make a story and a half. That'd make a board game and a half. Why are you making a board game about that?
Me and Marcus, and that's where the story's going. So
I'll just go back over here and sit in the corner. Sorry, Gerald.
It's okay. I've got this.
Okay. I'm just gonna get comfy. I'm just in a stretch.
But we didn't actually end up trying to make a board game about the cross country super trip. But through the cross country super trip, I was able to get up enough confidence to feel like it was okay to be creative in front of people, because I think with video games, you can hide. No one has to know the person who made the video game. No one ever has to see the person who designed the video game or wrote the story. You don't see that person. He's an anonymous nobody, and that's okay. I was very happy with that. With tabletop games, you literally, to play test the game, have to sit in front of people and let them tell you that it sucks.
But does that not make it a much more sociable experience then?
I think it makes it a terrifying experience, actually.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's that part of it for me is absolutely terrifying. But what's really comforting and what makes me feel good about it, or makes me feel okay with it, is that I can see the same discomfort in other game designers' faces when they bring out a brand new thing. When they're not as confident in how good it is, because sometimes you nailed it. you know, and there's no worry. You put it on the table, you know everybody's going to have a good time. You know there might be some issues, but you know that you nailed it. And other times, you really just want to try something. And you don't always know how people are going to react to something that you just wanted to try. And especially at first, it's scary. And sometimes people are mean, not because they're trying to be mean, but just whatever, I mean, their level and where your level was at that moment were too far away. So it comes off as terse or hurtful or whatever.
Yes, yeah. I mean, people can just turn around and, I mean, it can be just the couple of words that they could, you know, what did you think of it? It was okay. I didn't find it fun. And then you're like, oh, well, I've been playtesting this thing for like 2 months, and you know, you're the first person that's ever said that. But you know, it's like you can't. Video games, I guess you can say, well, listen, there's another 50 first-person shooters out there. You know, you can go out and play that. But board games, the playtesting, it's almost like that single person making the single comment just to say, do you know what it is? It's like, see, rather than draw 4 cards, if I drew 3 cards, that would make a difference to the game, kind of thing. Yeah?
Yeah. And I feel like too with board games, you personally invest that time to get a negative reaction. With a video game, you don't actually have to sit through their playthrough. You know what I mean? You can be on the phone or, you know, recording a podcast or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing anything.
No, you don't see anybody. I mean, let's face it, when they did...
You don't have to look in their eyes throughout the whole process and like, and like feel the palpable disappointment in the air. And like, that's what can be like a little intimidating sometimes.
Yeah, well, let's face it, if somebody did the Monster Hunter World beta was out, you know, over the Christmas period, yeah? And there would have been thousands of people playing that game. But there would definitely have not been thousands of people that would have been giving them any feedback at all about whether or not they thought it was a good experience or not. If you're sitting down in front of a group and you have got, you know, coloured cards and you've got counters and whatever, you can tell straight away from looking at people's faces, it's like they're getting this, and regardless of how it looks, they're grasping the concept, and that's really, really working well for them. But you can also see the people that are struggling. You can also see the people that are technically tapping out of the game quite early because they just don't seem to grasp it or get it. And I can, you know, you can totally see that. And I think going back to your thing when you're saying that the board game designers are generally out there, I think because the terms of the resources. I mean, you and me could sit down and we could create a board game within half a day. Yeah?
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a reality.
With nothing but a piece of paper,
yeah,
some scissors, and a pen.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can go to town.
We could go and we could do something that's together. You know, if it's a studio and we're thinking about putting a game out, I mean, that's a team. You know, that's 5 people. That's potentially 10 people. If it's a big software house, that could potentially be hundreds of people investing thousands of dollars into it. So, but I mean, with you did the pack stuff, and you're getting more and more involved in the scene. So how'd you go from being so involved in the scene to actually thinking, well, the video games, for whatever reason, I can't, you know, that's not going to work out for me, or it's not, I'm just heading in a different direction from it. I mean, where did you go kind of next with the kind of the tabletop stuff?
Well, the video games, they were just, it's like you said, the amount of coordination and resources necessary to make video games is daunting.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a tougher nut to crack. And I think me and Marcus ended up working on this card game. He was taking a class, like an economics class, one of his classes for college. We were both in school, and he was one of his economics classes, and we were basically it was almost like a study aid. We were making this little economics game.
Yeah.
And we spent 2 or 3 months just playing around with it. And I think in our heads at first, you know what I mean, our first discussions about it was as we were considering it as a computer app. You know what I mean? Something that was done on the computer, something that was done in your browser. That was, you know what I mean? That was when the browser games like Newgrounds and all that stuff was really hot. So we thought it would be like that. But when you're putting it down on paper, you start to see it come to life. And then we were more aware of tabletop games because it was becoming a thing.
Yeah. So
we were like, well, maybe this could be a card game. So we started prototyping it as a card game. And we never finished it. But I still have the notes for it. I still look at it every once in a while. Like once a year, I'll look at it like, man, I should put this together. but who knows?
Are you tempted just not to put it together and just leave it?
Yeah, and I mean, I got a lot of nostalgic projects that never got finished, especially from my video game design. And now I would like to not have so many unfinished board games because I have so many video games where I have concept art and we got a level or two here and we got a playable demo and then it just stopped and we never did anything else.
But it's hard. I mean, it's hard to get it to that level. It's hard to get it to that next level. And, you know, I mean, the number of people, the guests that I've had on here that have mentioned I was playing around with the video game stuff and then just going to cardboard, going to paper was so much easier because, you know, for me to change the colour of the background, to change how the character looks, to change a mechanic, to change a reaction mechanic or something, takes me, you know, a Sharpie and some colouring pencils. For me to do it on a video game takes me, you know, 2 weeks of hard programming, bug testing, fixing, patch upgrades and everything kind of that. So, but did that started you down the line then? You know, you're working there, putting together this idea. I mean, when did you think, well, actually, let's actually step into this world then? Let's see how far the rabbit hole kind of goes.
I think it just, playing around with it, I hadn't really designed anything in so long. And playing around with that idea reopened the floodgates for me. Mm-hmm. But it had opened my eyes to cardboard. It had, you know what I mean? It had like reminded me that, oh man, there's these other things. Because we played board games as a kid in my house. But we were readers and writers in my home. We did a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of poetry. So we weren't like, I can't remember too many times where we sat down as a family and played games other than like at other families' house, like cousins and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but we would read poetry together, you know, like we would like read out loud to each other at different passages. And we would read the mythologies. That was one of me and my mom's favorite thing was to read mythologies. So I love characters and stories and just those interactions. And I love I love graphic novels, comic books, and the way we visually represent those stories. And I saw that in board games, but I saw it the most at PAX when I saw Sentinels of the Multiverse.
Oh, right, yeah.
The first year that Sentinels of the Multiverse dropped. And between Sentinels of the Multiverse and Dominion, those are the two experiences that made me say, okay, I'm going to be making board games. You know what I mean? Like, those two games, I was like, yeah, this is what I'll be doing now. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm going to get there. And that was it. Because Sentinels of the Multiverse, for me, seeing comic books brought to life in a game that made me feel like the action was there, I was like, oh my God. Because before that, a lot of the examples for card games and board games were interesting to me, but I didn't feel like the action was there. Because I come from playing spades and dice,
yeah,
you know, so... And dominoes. When you play a game of spades, like when you play a game of spades in the hood, it's a raucous game. You know what I mean? There's everything from extreme hostility, you know, to with your partner, especially if you're playing with partners and your partner makes a mistake that you knew they shouldn't have made. Like, how did you not know that? And so there's, it gets real intense. And I hadn't really seen that level of intensity in the other games that I had watched. You know what I mean? Because at PAX, I saw a lot of board games, but nothing really pulled me in until I saw that Adam Ribataro artwork, you know, and I was like, oh, that looks awesome. I was like, that is what is going to make me sit down for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, that will keep me in my room for 2 hours. No complaining. Yes, Mom. I will be good.
Did you get a copy then? I mean,
I fanboyed the crap out of those guys for like 3 or 4 years. Because I was at every PAX and they were at every PAX. You don't get to get away from me.
Did you meet
I see them?
Did you meet Chris Bedell then?
Yeah, every single one of them. They aren't allowed to be in public near me without me coming over and fanboying. To this day, I took my kids. I introduced them to my kids. I took all my kids over. My whole squad walked over to them in the West End out at PAX East one year. It was on Monday. They were like waiting for their cab to go get their flight. And they're sitting there eating lunch. And I'm like, come on, kids, we're going to go down and meet the Sentinels of the Multiverse guys. I saw them, went upstairs, got my kids and brought them back down. I love those guys. Like, I absolutely love them. I love the fact that every time they see me, they smile and they know it's coming. I feel like you gotta be able to fanboy over something, man. That's my daughter, baby Jerry. She taught me that. You gotta be able to gush over something silly like that.
Yeah.
It's healthy.
It is. There's nothing wrong with a bit, liking something. There's nothing wrong with getting some joy from it, and there's nothing wrong with like letting other people know that you're happy about something as well.
Well, you should have something that gives you so much joy that it is uncontainable at times.
Yeah.
You know, like whether it's your spouse or a game or or something, or but there should be things in your life that make you feel that great.
Do you did you get all the bits then? Did you back the last kind of Kickstarter? Because I think Chris said that's it. Sentinels, there's not going to be any more.
I'm horrible. I don't keep up with news. I hear about everything. Like right now, that was the first I heard of that. I don't keep up enough. I expect that I'm going to run into you and I'm going to hear it. I'm really I guess I'm kind of old school that way. like when I see you, we're going to talk about whatever happened. We're going to hash it all out. We're going to, but I might not even talk to you at all. I guess that's a skill I've gotten from conventioning a lot, because all my friends, all my really close friends at this point, other than the few people locally, I see them 6 times a year, 7 times a year at conventions, and that's it. In between, we're living our lives and talking on Facebook.
Yeah, but that's not such a big thing.
No,
it's
it's wonderful.
That, live. Some people only see their family 6 or 7 times a year. If they're just because of the way that life kind of pans out and stuff like that. I think that this transition has made our friendships more familial. We have stronger friendships because of the way we can passively observe one another through social media and talk only at the right times. Yeah.
I think that's an important thing. Because sometimes you're just not supposed to be bothered with people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how did the idea for you've got the company appears, Spontaneously Combustible Games.
Spontaneously Combustible appeared from the Ultimate Team Up events, or not from, but because of the Ultimate Team Up events. I've realized that those events are like a little beacon in northeastern Ohio in the area for game designers, because every month or every couple weeks we'll get a new game designer that has been here the whole time, but now they're a part of this community. And Michael McFarlane and Todd Jacobison were working on Pests, and they needed somewhere to play test it, and they brought it to the events, and I helped them out with the Kickstarter and did whatever I could to help them get the Kickstarter all the way funded for Pests last year. And after that, I had already been working on Flippin' Fine's Diner for 3 years, 2.5 years. It had changed 5 times. God, so many names, and it's been 4 different games. I worked on 4 different food games, and it finally ended up as Flippin' Fine's Diner, as any playtesters at the events can attest to.
So, but, his Ultimate Team Up, you said is that Ohio based then?
Yeah, that's northeastern Ohio, and we actually do events every couple months in Pittsburgh. I'd like to do some more events there. Mm-hmm. They got a growing scene there, but no playtesting events either. So
it sounds like a very Sentinels of the Multiverse type name, the Ultimate Team Up.
It's literally when I came up with it, the first year we did the events, it was me and Andrew Miller who did the Cloud Dungeon and he when we talked about the name, I couldn't think of a name, and I finally just said it's the Ultimate Team Up because we're just gonna all do this together. And I pictured like this crazy like Voltron like comic book style cover, because I'm really a comic book nerd. Like if you're gonna call me a nerd, I'm a comic book nerd. You know, like that's the thing that I really can break down to you. I can give you issue numbers, and like we won't even go there. It's a whole nother podcast. But you know, so now I'm thinking about comic books.
Step away.
I know.
No, I've got into... What have I started reading? The Batman, the Dark Knight stuff, the Metal series.
Oh, see now I don't keep up with any of it anymore, though. It's all gone. Now I'm a board game guy. You know? Like it's definitely... It's definitely, I like looking at the images now, but I'm not as invested in those stories. I like our stories now. But wait, where was I?
So Pests. So Pests came out.
Oh, yeah. So,
Pests,
when after they released Pests, and honestly, you know, just watching Michael guide the process so effectively the first time he had ever done it, you know, I was like, well, I don't want to do this alone. And I just helped you guys do this and watched you guys do a great job. So why don't I just help you guys do it again and we'll do it together? It just didn't seem, it seemed silly to like after, you know what I mean, to like walk away from that process and be like, okay, guys, I'm going to go do this all by myself though later. So you guys have a great time. Like, why would I do that? It was a fantastic experience doing it with the group of us, with the 3 of us and everybody else who helped. You know, really the 4 of us because Mark helped. And you know, there's just, you know, why go at it alone?
Is it? See, when you've been working, because you said you worked on Flippin' Fines for 4 years. Is it difficult? Is it difficult to draw a line under it to say, right, that is it? There's nothing more when you've been tinkering with something, because it ends up, and the danger of having, I think, of anything in development, even be a board game, anything, a book, a film, some sewing, you know, some arts and craft, whatever, you know, cake baking. But if you have it going on for so long and you keep tinkering, it ends up becoming a habit to tinker with something as opposed to becoming actually a project that you should finish. Did you have to be strict with yourself and say, actually, I'm going to put a deadline on this and then we're going to get it released and designed and that's going to be it?
Well, one, I at no point considered You know what I mean? At no point in the beginning did I consider it being something that I would publish and make money off of. Originally, as I was developing it, I really started developing it when I started the Ultimate Team Up events. So it was kind of like, it was really the thing that was there so that if no game designers showed up, I definitely had a game to be play tested. You know, and that wasn't the reason it was this game, but it was the reason that I was focused on making sure I had a physical game and not just notes on paper. So the events themselves are what motivated me to like put it down and actually like put it down on paper. But I really didn't consider it. I didn't really consider it necessary to ever finish it. But I knew what I wanted it to be the whole time. So it was like I was never distracted. It was never like a wandering process. I always was trying to make a memory game that was really good for a family to sit down and play and to get through and everybody have a good time and, you know, and like, and just to feel like you were actually having to memorize things and people would have to stop and think and be like, okay, everybody stop talking. I can't remember where it's at. You know what I mean? I wanted those moments from the beginning. And it's funny. One of the first play tests I did, Ben Canelos, he designed Red Scare. He said his feedback, he was like, well, what are you trying to do with the game? And I said, I really just want to make a memory game that, you know, kind of feels like you're making orders in a restaurant. And he's like, well, you didn't do that. and he elaborated from there, but that shoe dropped like that, you know, and it really, I choked up a little bit. I won't lie. I don't think I really ever said that, but you know, it bit deep, but it was the truth because I hadn't at that point done anything near that, you know, like if just thinking about what it was at that time, you know, like, and I knew it wasn't done then, but I didn't realize how far it was from finished. But because I think I stopped working on it for like 4 or 5 months at one point, and I was just solely focused on the events.
Yeah.
And doing Ultimate Team Up. That became my game for a while.
Yeah, but you got to chop and change because you can stare at the same thing again and again and again. Yeah, you know, I'm lucky because, you know, before I was speaking to you, I was speaking to somebody from Estonia. Before I was, you know, the time before that, I was speaking to one of the guys that worked on the Dark Souls board game. The time before that, I was speaking to somebody that was organising Aircon. So my time doing the show allows me to speak to lots of different people. I don't really get a chance to get, I guess, deflated. Unless, you know, on occasion, you'll be like...
That's what...
On occasion, it's kind of like, I know I've got to edit this. And then sometimes you realise...
There's always that...
Yeah.
There's always the one part of everything that isn't the thing you want to have to be doing, you know. I hate spreadsheets, but, you know, whatever. Sometimes you just got to make a spreadsheet.
Just got to get in there. Get in there with that yellow highlighter and just go crazy.
Look, but I don't do it anymore, though. I use Trello. I'm done with spreadsheets. But anyway.
Trello's okay. I use a bit of HubSpot as well. Bit of Trello. Bit of HubSpot.
Yeah, sometimes you got to make a spreadsheet, though. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's sad. They really got that one right. But anyway.
Let's talk. You know, let's talk about Flippin' Fine's Diner.
Oh.
Let's tell me the mechanics. I mean, from what I can see, I'd be guessing that basically you put your tiles, you put your cards down, you put your orders down, and then you basically have to remember where everything is in order to make up the orders, and you score points based on those orders. And I'd be guessing that's what you'd be doing.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you're going to lay out a grid of tiles, a 5x5 grid, and they're all going to be face down. And kind of like how the old school memory game was, where you would flip over two, but back then you were trying to match sets and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You're going to flip over 4 tiles and try to match those ingredients to the ingredients on the order cards that are face up. The order cards are out there for everybody, kind of like that ticket line. Because when I came up with the idea for Flip and Finds, I worked at a little local restaurant right by me, and I had actually brainstormed all these games specifically for individual people at the restaurant, because I was like, I want to make games for one person, and I want to make them as like a gift. Mm-hmm. Like I was going to give it to him for Christmas. Me, of course, being so naive, thinking that I started this idea in like October, thinking I was going to whip together 5 games really quick and produce them all in time for Christmas presents for these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I was having a really good time that year with the team in that kitchen. It was really fun. We were just having a good time. And the Flip and Finds idea came from that. So it was I got lost in reverie for a moment there.
I could see you having a little think about there's the history, and
could you see the thought bubble?
Like
the thought bubble like slowly drifted.
Kind of floated up.
Yeah, it really did.
Was having the ultimate team up, was that good for playtesting then? I mean, did you was it just a case of, did you basically almost have a playtesting group ready in there before you had a game? I mean, are they quite a hungry, open to new ideas, welcome to kind of try anything? Because I think that's potentially when you go to a local game group, that could be one of the most difficult things to find, is to find somebody that's willing to sit down with you with your 57 pieces of white paper and your counters that you've laid out, and you're kind of stuck on dice. I mean, the guys at Ultimate Team Up, were they really open to just saying, yeah, let's stick it down, let's find out what this Flip and Finds diner's all about?
We're really lucky to have Case Western Reserve and Kent State and BGSU, all these like really cool, like, and they're kind of popular. I feel like they're known, these little colleges in northeastern Ohio, because we have some really, really smart playtesters, and game designers. So our playtesters will break things down for you. I can remember Kevin, and everybody in our group knows Kevin, because Kevin will tear your game apart. Okay. I feel like, and I may be misquoting it, he's a math professor. I don't know his exact title, but he's a math guy. And you can put any game in front of him and he will play it. He will play it to the optimal strategy, and he will destroy it. If there's holes, he's going to expose them. So, and then we have a lot of really fantastic people who take part in our playtests every week. Some people show up almost every single week, and they're just ready. You can bring them anything, and they're like, "Come on, let's just get through it. Let's see what this has," and they give great feedback too. So we're really lucky, because I don't think that Flip and Finds would even actually exist without their input, because like I can think of very key things in the game, like key moments when fun was unlocked from feedback directly from playtesters, where they were like, well, this and this, and the tip cards was something that came from playtesters, because it just didn't, wasn't scoring properly in the end. It didn't feel right. Yeah. And somebody was like, oh, well, you should do something like maybe like this. And then we actually sat there and talked it out. Me and a playtester sat there and talked it out. And he pretty much helped me develop it right there from the idea that he had from us playing 2 or 3 rounds. And they were actually one of the most competitive play tests I had ever seen. They were so serious. Oh my God.
Was it scary? Was it scary thinking, right, this is going to Kickstarter, let's take it to Kickstarter in the next level? Were you quite happy? Because it sounded to me like you're quite happy to have it just rolling out Ultimate Team Up. When did you decide, right, we're going to take this to Kickstarter, let's actually just do this, get it out there, draw the line under it, and, you know, push it out into Kickstarter?
It's kind of scary to put it out on Kickstarter, but I feel like you can't be afraid to fail so much that it taints the meat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Don't let the fear. You know what I mean? You can't let the fear seep into the meat.
No.
So, I really like tried to not even worry about that part of it, because I am really just happy with it just existing. And I would really like for it to be a game that so many people have in their house and get to experience with their families and play over and over again and just have a great time with.
Mm-hmm.
But if people don't want that, then I'm not mad at them. Might be a little sad,
And has it
maybe one tear?
And and has it been kind of different making the move into kind of doing the promotion of the game then?
It's honestly one of the things that I preach hardcore to everybody in our community in Ultimate Team Up is just like, you're marketing from the moment you conceive the idea. Because as a game designer, you know, we have to consider ourselves entrepreneurs, but we also have to consider ourselves like, we're really like public figures, you know, like
mm-hmm.
people are we have to expose ourselves on Facebook to get, and Twitter to get play testers at conventions. And, you know, unless you're insulated within a company to where you have access to focus groups and playtest groups to where you don't have to put yourself out there, when you first get going, you absolutely have to put yourself out there in front of all kinds of people. And in this day and age, that might expose you to people like knowing who you are, and, you know,
mm-hmm.
so there's a I just totally dropped my phone and it distracted the crap out of me. But it was like everything just fell apart over here. You don't even know. I'm like, everything was falling, and I was actually talking without the microphone even near my face at all for a second there. I was just trying to keep my face next to my mic, even though I didn't have my headphones in at all.
Oh goodness.
But I like to remind everybody that you're always marketing your game. So there isn't really, I don't feel like there's much of a shift. I feel like now there's a lot more pressure, you know, for me to do a good job.
Yeah.
Like I can't just decide not to be on social media today. That's how I feel now, you know.
Well, I mean, the game's out. I mean, how much are you going to be? Well, how much do you need to kind of pay to get involved in the Kickstarter? What are you going to be putting the prices?
I believe it's at 20. I better check though before I go. Michael finished the Kickstarter preview page right before he let me know right before we started recording. And I honestly didn't look at it. All I know is we need 288 backers at a $8,000 goal.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll make sure that you know, when the campaign goes live, we're going to make sure that it's we sing it out kind of loud and clear. But we'll also obviously make sure that we shall confirm the kind of the cost as well. have you got other games planned? I mean, is there kind of like a miniature game you're thinking about? Is there is there other games that you're kind of gonna get involved in?
No minis yet. I don't have any minis planned, but I because like I said, I come from a writing background. So for me, I created an entire world around Flip and Find's diner. You know, Flip and Find are lifelong friends who have known each other for almost 30 years, and they've been through their life, and they both grew up in the same town, and they went through their lives, and then they both ended up moving back to the same town and living. Now that they live in that town, they own this restaurant together, and Flip he runs the front of the house, and he books jazz bands on the weekend in the front of the house. And Find runs the kitchen. He's in charge of the cook, and he's a chef. He fancies himself a pretty decent chef, and he runs the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And this game is about Find. You know, it's really about Find. It's about where he's at. He's in the kitchen. It's about his world. The next game that I have planned for this story is about Flip, and it's about the front of the house and how he books the jazz bands and how the competition between him booking his bands with the other venues on the street. So that's a teaser for the next installation in that universe. But then we're also right now working on Emergency Generator, which is a simultaneous dice rolling game that Michael McFarlane designed, and that I've been working on him with the story and the design and stuff. And that is a cooperative, simultaneous dice rolling game where you play as superheroes trying to resolve emergencies around the globe. And that one has been playtesting very well, and We're really excited about that. So
if people want to find you on social media, where can we find you?
You can find me as Ultimate Team Up, at Ultimate Team Up on Twitter, Ultimate Team Up on Facebook, and then at Ultimate_Team Up on Instagram. I'm fairly active on everything. I love chatting with people on Messenger. Mm-hmm. Friend me on Facebook and watch my stories. I really do my best to use cute stickers and good frames. High production value. It's not live streaming, it's drive streaming.
It's just amazing. And Flip and Find's Diner is going to be coming to you on March 6th.
Yeah, March 6th. We're doing a 35-day campaign because we're trying to squeeze all our conventions in there, because I really, really wanted to end it on PAX. Yeah. But we're doing our first Protospiel in Cleveland on March 9th through 11th. So we also really, really wanted to have it launched during that first Protospiel, because Andrew Stackhouse has organized this Protospiel for us, and we're just really excited to have people coming from other places to make games in Northeastern Ohio. It's so exciting.
That's cool. Well, we'll make sure that any links that you have will go in the show notes, so that we have notes to show.
Yeah, I got all kinds of notes for you.
Listen, thank you very, very much for coming on, Gerald. This has been a lot of fun. Really appreciate you giving us the time. As I say, we will be making sure that people are more than aware of Flip and Find's Diner when it's kind of launched. But just, thank you very, very much for coming on.
Hey, no problem. Oh, also, really quick, me and Todd Jacubison, the artist for Flip and Finds, we're going to do a little tour from the March 13th through the 15th. We're just going to kind of run around Southern Ohio, to Southern Ohio, Indiana, and up to Michigan, and visit a couple board game cafes. So if anybody is interested in how that went, feel free to shoot me a message. I'm looking forward to that little adventure.
That's cool. Excellent. I wish you best of luck with that. If you want to keep an eye on the little adventures that we're going to be up to, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If you search for We're Not Wizards, if you search We're Not Wizards on Facebook, you'll find us there. On YouTube, you'll find us there. If you really like the show, then please drop us a subscription on any of the normal kind of podcast catchers, like your Spreaker and Stitcher and Acast and Podknife. If you like what you've heard, please consider dropping us a subscription on Apple Podcasts. If you really, really like us, consider dropping us a rating or a review. And as we said, if you are going to give us a rating or a review, don't give us a 10, because that'll make us big-headed. Don't give us a 1, because that'll make us cry. Give us a 5, because it's in the middle, and it's average, and we are a bit average. But the person who's not been average is the wonderful, the fantastic Mr. Gerald King. So thank you once again for coming on, Gerald.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Richard. It has been fantastic, man. I'm really glad we actually got this done.
There you go. There's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Gerald?
No, absolutely not. We're not wizards.
Definitely not. And the second...
I'm nowhere near that impressive.
And the second thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from Gerald. Say goodbye, Gerald.
Goodbye, Gerald.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe. Roll 6s. I want a couple of sides of bacon, my eggs over easy, get that block coffee, a little bit of cream, a little bit of sugar, but keep it coming. And
yeah, I'll take black coffee with a Red Bull after.
But until the next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.